Okay, good morning, members, applicants, members of the public, if they're watching on the live stream, Police Scotland and our officers, and welcome to this meeting of the Angus Licensing Board. Mrs. Anderson, are there any apologies for absence, please?
There's no apologies, Convener.
Thank you very much. Members, any declarations of interest? No? Okay, thank you very much. Members, agenda item number 3 we've got before us, and we're asked to approve as a correct record the minute of meeting of this board held on the 18th of February 2021. Do we agree these are a correct record?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. So the first item of business is agenda item number 4A, and it's provisional premises licenses, and it's the Second Chance Inverkeeler Limited, 16 Main Road, Inverkeeler, Arbroath. And we have the applicant, Kathleen Powrie. Ms. Powrie, you may speak to your application for members, and then there may be questions afterwards. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, of course. Good morning.
Good morning. I don't know what you want me to say.
Just if you just want to go over what your application, members have got the report in front of them anyway, but if you don't want to say anything, that's absolutely fine. People get, they're not used to it. We can just deal with. We're
just in Inverkeeler. It's just going to be a small place. It's going to be a cafe during the week and a shop and a pub at the weekend, hopefully. But there might be other occasions that we'll need the license for, so that's why we've gone for the full one, if possible. Well, not yet. It's the provisional license that we're going for at the moment because we don't have everything passed by the council.
Okay.
The building just about finished.
That's fine. Members, any questions? No. Councillor Moore?
Yes, I'm just looking at this and it says bar hours will be weekends only. Now, I know that the license will stay with the building, whether it's the current occupant or future ones. And I'm just wondering if the bar hours are weekend only, why are we being asked to license it all week?
Because we're a small community and there may be an occasion for a funeral or something like that. And quite often alcohol is required after a funeral, birthday parties. We just want to be accessible for the local people as and when required.
That's fine, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Moore, thank you. Any other questions? No comments, members? Okay, well, I'll change my screen and we'll just look at the type of provisional premises license. Members, I'm going to move that we grant this on the basis of 1, description of premises. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
2, the core times. Are they agreed?
Agreed.
3, the activities to be provided. Are they agreed?
Agreed.
Number 5, the children and young persons. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
And the capacity at 30 seated. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mrs. Powrie, your application has been granted. That was an easy one. Thank you very much. Councillor Durno. Councillor Durno, your hand's up.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Mrs. Powrie for putting the building up and for doing such a great job, and it's really welcome to see it, and the village is so excited about the opening, and I can't wait to come in for a cup of coffee when the restrictions is all over. Well done.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, bye.
Is that an interest?
Okay, members, thank you very much. The next one, 4B, Bowman's Coffee House, 27A High Street, Moneyfeith. Good morning, and it's nice to see you again, Mrs. Hood.
So I can come out.
Muted.
Mrs. Hood, I saw Mrs. Hood earlier on.
She's there, but she's muted.
Oh,
she's muted.
Mrs. Hood, you're on mute. That's it.
Sorry,
Oh,
I do apologise. Must have been my fault.
It's a regular occurrence in our meetings, don't worry.
Oh dear. Right, I'll start again. Good morning, Convener, Your Honours. It's lovely being before my home board. I'm representing my client, Susan Ann Bowman, in respect of what is, I think you'll agree, a fairly modest application for a provisional premises licence for the family-friendly Bowman's Cafe in Moneyfeith. The premises are situated in the centre of the village. As I said earlier, my client was going to be online today, but she's sitting her personal licence exam this morning, and I am fully instructed to take decisions on her behalf. The capacity of the premises is 40 max. The application is for both on and off sales of alcohol. Your honours will be aware that the ability to sell food, soft drinks and alcohol for takeaway and delivery has kept many small businesses afloat during the pandemic. And I did suggest this to my clients as being something, they hadn't thought about it, but I suggested it to them as being something that they would probably not regret having, even though they are, unless during the pandemic, they're not likely to be doing a lot of deliveries of that type of thing. The hours for the sale of alcohol are 11 in the morning until 10 at night. My clients will probably only open till 10 o'clock occasionally, but they do wish to have the hours as they hope to be able to offer things like mixed plates, interesting food, and a glass of wine to people basically in the early evening and probably before they go on elsewhere. And they would like their business to be able to expand this way. The activities are as on the application form: bar and restaurant facilities. That's food. It's difficult to know what's a restaurant, what's a bar, when it's a cafe. So I put them both in. They might have receptions, including small weddings. I mean, weddings have been pretty small recently, as you know, funerals, retirements, that sort of thing, both within and out with core hours. They plan to have recorded music within and out with core hours. They may have live performances. That might be a wee comedian or something like this, gaming within core hours. Now that is the only time they would think about doing that, is if somebody came along and said they wanted a pretend casino night for a small function. Again, it may or may not happen. It's not something that'll be on all the time, and it certainly isn't turning the premises into a gaming establishment. I'm glad to say that, and I'd like to say this, your Environmental Health Service were absolutely superb. They contacted the client, they had a long discussion with them, they worked out what they wanted to do with regard to noise management, and the plan has been agreed. And I just wish I was getting this across the rest of the country at the moment. So thank you again, Angus, for leading the way. Environmental Health now have no objections. They did have comments to make at the beginning. In terms of theatre, as I said, it might be a magician or something like that who could perform on the premises. The premises already open, they're already open. They're running as a cafe. They can open from 8 in the morning, but obviously not for the sale of alcohol. And they'd like to continue to do this for hot and cold beverages, food, takeaway, snacks, etc., recorded music. The premises have always welcomed children and young persons because it is, and it won't really change from being a cafe. My clients are aware of Challenge 25 and requirement to keep appropriate records of refusals. Now, they would like children, and this is what happens at the moment, under 12 have to have an adult with them at all times. And it's not just for alcohol, but for the convenience and making sure premises run properly. But children from 13 to 17 do access the premises at lunchtime for snacks, for paninis, for soft drinks. And after school, they might come in for an ice cream or something of that nature. So they would quite like that to be permitted unaccompanied. This is against your policy, until 6 o'clock in the evening, because that's what they're currently doing. But after that, they would like them to be accompanied by an adult if they're attending a family event or coming in for food. If people are accompanied, birth to 17 would be permitted to all public parts of the premises. I'd like to thank Daniel Coleman for pointing out the access is not within your honours policy, but I would like to say that because it is a cafe and it's not changing its underlying position, I think that this would be one where you might consider that it's reasonable in terms of your policy to allow it to go through. Now, the statement of policy, as you know, has been created to promote the licensing objectives, in particular protecting children from harm. And I really don't see the harm. What's likely to happen in here is, you know, I might go and have a light lunch and a glass of wine. It's not somewhere that one would be going, if you'll excuse the terminology, for a booze up. So I don't think it's likely to be somewhere which would cause any problems to anybody in the area. But I thank Daniel very kindly for his comments. There won't be a wet-led pub, as I have said. They might have a glass of wine, a small bottle of beer, even a whiskey or something like that. I don't think this will harm children, especially 13 to 17-year-olds. My clients have an alcohol delivery policy and the vulnerability policy, which your honours are familiar with, the ones that I suggest all clients who are carrying out activities have, and these will be in place. And I hope you're with me on this one. And I move the grant subject, of course, to any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hood. Any questions for Mrs. Hood? Councillor Moore?
Thank you, convener. Yes, Mrs. Hood, I've not got much of a problem with this, but there's only one toilet and it's going to become a disabled unisex WC and baby changing room. Is it going to be capable of doing all that?
Well, the capacity is only 40, and this has been approved by your building standards department. And there are strict rules and requirements for the provision of toilets, and this meets the requirements of building standards, and they have got the section 50.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Moore, any other questions?
No.
Councillor Whiteside?
Thanks, convener. Thanks for that presentation. I actually congratulate the owner on the application. It's really good to see some ambition about expansion of activities in the high streets, which are under a lot of threat at the moment, as we hear often. I don't particularly have a problem with the children issue, but I would be interested in knowing how frequently teenagers are in the cafe at the moment on their own in the afternoons. So it'd be just to give us an idea of how normal that is.
Children and young persons regularly come in to buy an ice cream, maybe to have a panini, something like this. It's just the nature of being a cafe. They also, you know, if their mum's picking them up at school, they might go in, you know, as a treat on the way back home, probably much the same way as my mum used to do with me, and I'm sure yours undoubtedly did with you when we were under the age of 18. So it's reasonably popular for those purposes. It's not going to change. It's not going to turn into something else, because you and I could have a glass of wine if we wanted it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Whiteside?
Thank you, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? No comments then, please? Councillor Fairweather?
Thank you, Chair. I certainly don't have any issues with it, with this. I know it's against our policy, but at the end of the day, the year that everybody's had, we need to be seen to be helping these businesses in any way we can. So I'm happy to go with grant on this.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Fairweather. Yes, as I've said many times before, the hospitality sector has been decimated in the last year, 14 months. And when it does reopen, it will be subject to very strict regulations, I'm quite sure. So yes, I think, you know, we've got to be flexible here and help these small business, any business that's trying to sort of diversify to survive. So I've no issue with it either. Any other comments? Okay, well, we'll just go through the application as we do. Thank you. And if we just agree, I'm going to move we grant it on the basis of the application, and we'll just go from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Do we agree all this application?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Hood.
Thank you very much, convener and your honours, for this. Can I please say something? I know that Daniel Coleman is moving on to the planning service, which I have to say, from my perspective, is going to be a great loss. He's a young man, he's got great talent, and he has been a fantastic licensing standards officer. What I've loved about him is his maturity, the way he's actually been able to grapple with this is complex business and deal with certainly my clients in a manner where there have been no issues raised at all. And I wish him every success within Angus moving into the planning service. Thank you very much for having him as one of your employees.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Hood. I actually had that written down as the final item.
Oh, sorry.
But no, not at all. He certainly makes me feel old, because I knew his dad before he was born. So there we go.
Yeah. From my end, Peter. Thank you very much.
I'll mention Daniel at the end. Thank you, Mrs. Hood.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, members, agenda item number 5 is the new premises licenses under the Licensing Scotland Act 2005, and it's Distillations Limited, Unit 22, Matthew Kerr Place in Arbroath. And we have Paul Scothern to speak to this. Good morning.
You're muted. He's still muted.
Mr. Scothern, you're still muted.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay, can you hear me okay now?
Yes, that's fine.
Lewis, my son, is okay.
Yes, of course. On you go.
Okay, Lewis, my son, whose distillery is here with me. The reason I'm speaking to you is because it's me that's been doing the licensing coordination for him. But obviously he's here if you want to ask him any questions. He's also the license holder. As you'll see from the application, we're a small craft distillery. We don't have our own product, so we don't sell our own product. We just make product for other people, and we sell only at the moment business to business. Those businesses distribute or sell their product either by a distributor or by a fulfillment centre elsewhere, or through their own retail outlets. What they've asked us, or some of them have asked us, if we could supply the fulfillment centre effectively from here, i.e. their online orders, could we dispatch them directly from here rather than having to send the stuff and then dispatch it from a second location, which sort of makes sense. And from our point of view, it's bringing business from out with Angus into Angus from the distribution side. So really that's what we're applying for. We won't be selling any product directly. It will be our customers' online sales, and they'll probably, the vast majority will be picked up by a courier or Royal Mail. There may be an occasion, though I can't imagine that somebody local will buy online, and rather than pay the delivery, will come here to the premises to collect it. And that's basically what we're looking for.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions from members? No questions. Okay, comments? No comments. Councillor Moore?
Just saying, grant it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to make say. This is quite straightforward, so I'm just going to move straight to grant. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay, gentlemen, your application has been granted. Thank you very much for your attendance today.
Yeah. Thank you.
welcome.
Can I just say I've already said to Daniel that the help we've got from all departments of the council throughout this process, because we're a little bit naive to it, has been absolutely fantastic. I know the council got a lot of stick from certain quarters, but we found nothing but helpfulness throughout the whole process. So we'd just like to thank the council for that.
Thank you very much. These comments are always welcome, but I totally agree with you. They're always very helpful to us members with their advice. Thank you very much. Okay, members, agenda item number 6, premises licenses, request to vary under the Licensing Scotland Act 2005, and the first one is Dobby's Garden World, Ethy Beaton Park, Moneyfeith, and we have Kevin Clancy, the agent, and Colin Curran, the general manager. You gentlemen will know the procedure, so you may speak to your application now. Thank you.
Good morning, convener, and thank you, Kevin Clancy from Shepton Wedderburn, on behalf of the applicants, and I'm joined by Colin Curran, who's the premises manager. As a convener, you've mentioned it's an application for variation to the premises licence for Dobby's Garden Centre. Those of you familiar with Dobby's will know that it's primarily a garden centre, but it has added facilities such as the food hall, the restaurant and the cafe area, and it's primarily geared towards being a safe family environment and catering for children and young persons of all ages. The application today is in respect of a proposed overall refresh of the premises, in particular a reconfiguration of the layout of the store and an increase in off-sale capacity. The reason that the variation has been applied for at this time is because Dobby's has entered into a commercial partnership with Sainsbury's, in which will allow Sainsbury's to bring a range of food and grocery products to the garden centres. So the increase in capacity reflects in part the addition of Sainsbury's own range of alcohol, which will now be supplied in store, such as its Taste the Different range. The increase in capacity will also allow for a larger variety of craft beers and gins and bottles of wine that Dobie's typically sells. The application also takes the opportunity to make two other fairly routine amendments to the operating plan. Firstly, to provide the flexibility that any available hours for the festive season or other recognised events as may become available in terms the board policy will apply. And that's really simply for consistency with other Dobie's premises licences throughout Scotland, and is simply future-proofing the licence. And secondly, as a tidying up exercise in relation to Q5 on the operating plan, which now makes clear that Christmas and related function events, charity events, garden and flower events can take place within the premises. As I mentioned, that's really just a tidying up exercise. One minor point of clarification, there's reference in the board papers and also the LSO's report that the applicant has applied to permit restaurant and outdoor drinking facilities before, excuse me, before the commencement of core hours and for recorded music to be played. To be clear, those are already entitlements under the existing premises licence. The only amendment to Q5 of the operating plan is to insert wording as it relates to the functions I've just mentioned and which are mentioned and referenced in the LSO's report. There's no objections to the variation application, and the LSO representation is in fair and positive terms, and I'd simply move the application is granted as applied for.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clancy. Any questions, members? Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Convener. Mr. Clancy, the festive season or other recognised events, what would you determine other recognised events to be?
Do you want me to come in on that one, Kevin? Sorry.
Excuse me?
Would you like me to come in on that one?
Yes, Colin.
Yeah. We do a couple of other charity events throughout the year, which we would class like ladies' nights events, and also like a pre-Christmas launch of for Teenage Cancer Trust, showcasing our store setups and that as well throughout the year. With that, we wouldn't be selling alcohol. We'd only be giving, you know, a free sample out to customers as they come through the door.
So you've just told me you're going to have people drive there and then give them a free drink.
Well, there's also non-alcoholic juices not available for the drivers in any party.
Okay, thank you.
And they can always refuse, Councillor Moore. That's up to them. Councillor King, question?
Yes, I'm looking at the plan on page 26. Such small scale, I can't read it. Can I ask either Mr. Clancy or Mr. Curran, is it the blue areas in the Mez restaurant that will be where the alcohol is being sold and stored?
It's the light green area, Councillor King. So if you look at the...
wait a minute, yes, is that the light green area in the main part of the building?
In the main part of the building, to the bottom left.
Yes, I've got it.
Of the plan, and the annotation, I appreciate the writing is small, but the annotation concerns the food hall.
Yes, the problem is if I expand it to try and read it, it just becomes a blur.
Well, bottom left-hand corner of
bottom left-hand corner. I've got you now.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. Any other questions? Okay, comments then. Mr. Coleman? No? No hands up. No comments? Okay, I think this is quite straightforward. We've got the description of the variation in front of us, and it's 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to move that we grant. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clancy and Mr. Curran. Your variation has been granted. Thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you, Convener.
Thank you.
Members of the board.
Thank you. Okay, members, the next item is the Neptune Bar, 7 Erskine Street in Montrose, and we've got Anna Thompson, the applicant today. Ms. Thompson, you'll have been aware of the procedure. The with the applications before you, so you may now speak to your application. Thank you.
I don't see it.
There's maybe no
Muted.
You're on mute.
Is that it now?
That's it. That's it.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm very new to this technology. Good morning, everyone. The application for the Neptune Bar is really to do food on a small scale. The Neptune Bar has been a hotel and then a pub in Montrose for many years, and most of our daily customers are, well, we say, over the age of 60. And they come in more for the company than anything else, and to be honest, drink very little. But I'd like to provide some sort of food on a minimal basis for our customers. Our kitchen was previously passed by the council when I had a member of staff who actually wanted to go into the food area of things. She no longer works for me, and I don't know if I'll be going into that in the future. But in the meantime, if I could supply some sort of food basically during the day. I don't intend to turn the Neptune Bar into a food pub where people will go for lunch. As I say, it will be very minimal.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Councillor Boyd.
Thank you, Councillor Fairweather. It's just a quick one to Mrs.
Fairweather.
Oh, sorry.
I've been promoted, Councillor Boyd.
I keep on doing it. I think it's actually a demotion, to be perfectly honest, Craig. But there we go.
Yes, Brian.
So it was just a quick question to Mrs. Wilkie, because I think I brought this up at the last meeting as well. I'm sure she is aware, but it's just to say, are you aware of the what quantities of food you need to put out to people if we go back into various levels as we come out of COVID? It's caused us nothing but problems where putting a packet of crisps on the bar did not constitute. I'm sure you're aware of it, but I also just want you to be aware of that. You may fall foul if you don't put out some form of substantial meal to your customer, your 60 plus age-wise customers.
Yes, I'm very aware of it. I've spoken to Mr. Coleman about it, and also I've been reading up online, and I keep up to date with all these kind of things. I'm not a great cordon bleu cook or anything like that, but I did marry last year just before the lockdown, and my husband is going to be keeping me right on a lot of that kind of thing. So yes, I'm very aware of it, yes.
That's lovely. And you could also get help from Carol at the corner in Carnoustie, who put out sort of pensioner meals for her elderly clients as well. And I'm sure she'll talk it through with you. Okay.
That would be great. It's actually a very small world, because in 4 weeks' time, I'm getting a puppy from Carol's sister.
Ah, there you go.
That came out in conversation from her as well, that her sister could keep me right. So.
Oh yeah, she was very up to speed with that one.
Well, they say it's a small world.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Councillor Moore, question?
Yes, Convener, thank you. It's regarding the adding recorded music out with core hours. I'm just wondering whether RECP have had any consultation on that matter about making sure that it's not a nuisance to the neighbours.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
No, so it's okay. I'm just going to ask Mr. Eason, one of the officers, to answer that, I think.
Okay.
Thanks, Councillor Ford. My understanding is there's already a noise management plan in place that covers recorded music and other forms of music within the premises. So that would take into account any extension of the music to out with their core hours. So we're quite happy with that.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Fairweather, question?
Yes, no, it's not a question, it's a comment.
Okay, there's no other hands up for questions, so on you go, Councillor Fairweather.
Thank you, Chair. It's just to go back to what Councillor Boyd had said. You know, I really feel right, sorry for all these licensed premises. When the restrictions came in that they had to supply food and they couldn't if they were having alcohol. My understanding is that may change and that will not apply. You won't have to have a substantial meal or a meal while you're drinking, but that's still to be confirmed. But as I say, the hospitality trade have been absolutely slaughtered, and the cost all to their cost. And I honestly do hope that the restrictions remove this, what I think is silly, that you have to supply food. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fairweather. Any other comments? No. Okay, this is, as far as I'm concerned, straightforward. Description of variations 1 and 2. I'm going to move that we grant. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. Wilkie, your application has been granted.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, members. 6C is the Buick Social Club, Lochside Street, Green Street, Arbroath, and it's Mr. Gareth Brown that will speak to this application. Mr. Brown.
Morning. I'm Gareth Brown, licensee of the Buick Lounge Bar. Today was just to apply for a couple of variations. One is the name of the pub. It's been called the Buick Lounge Bar for a couple of years up above the door, but for some reason it was never actually put on the premises license, which is why I've put in for a name change from Social Club to Buick Lounge Bar. It's already been upgraded to a full pub license anyway. The second one was for adding a seasonal event, Boxing Day. We have all the other seasonal events, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, etc. So adding Boxing Day was just adding that extra one on there. And the final one, the sort of main variation, was to our pub, as well as relying on regulars. It's quite a big function pub for weddings, parties, funerals, etc. We've provided catering in the past, whether rightly or wrongly. The predecessors never again applied for it on their license. However, the facilities have been in place, kitchen, etc., have all been in place for the last couple of years and signed off by Environmental Health. So we'd like to provide our own in-house catering and things like Christmas Day meals, which have been successful in the past. We'd like to be able to host the bar meal side of it. Again, as the other lady said, we're not planning on being a bistro pub or a restaurant. We, in the future, we'd just like to provide just wholesome, small menu food, pie, chips, peas, burger, chips, peas, nothing too extravagant, but decent sort of hot food. Again, that's something that is further down the line. Spoke to Nick Noon about providing a menu in the future, and he seems more than happy. So that's the general outline.
Okay, thank you very much. Very detailed, Mr. Brown. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Brown? No comments. Councillor Boyd.
Back to what Councillor Fairweather mentioned in the last one, it looks like you'll not have to worry about level 2s or 3s, hopefully, because I totally agree with them with this situation. It was a ludicrous situation to be in, and hopefully that will be resolved when you start to getting around to putting out food. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Boyd. Members, this for me is straightforward. You've got the 4 variations in front of you. I'm going to move that we grant. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brown. Your variation has been granted. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, members, agenda item number 7 is a report about premises in excess that's had in excess of 4 occasional licenses. And my screen's jumping a bit here. So we have the report. Are there any questions for Mr. Coleman? Councillor Moore. Councillor Moore, you're on mute.
He's on mute.
That's better. Thank you. I'm looking at the list on page 36, and I can appreciate that a lot of these occasional licenses are due to the COVID licensing bar, outside areas, beer gardens, etc. But I'm also looking at ones like the Thrums Hotel, who's had 15 occasional licenses. Now, quite a few have applied for and been granted major variations. Carnoustie Distillery is 26. Now, I'm just wondering what the circumstances around those are, because that seems to be quite excessive and hints at playing the system.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. I have made contact with the people that have had in excess of 4. But you mentioned Thrums in particular. I'm aware they've applied for planning permission for a more permanent outdoor drinking area. I understand that they will be coming to us for a major variation. Hopefully, when they get their planning permission, they don't apply for one and lose it and not get the other. That may prove rather circular. In terms of Carnoustie Distillery, I have been in touch with them as well, and they are considering the matter of a full premises licence. Now, they have, normally, as members will be aware, they have several occasional licences a year to do with farmers markets. They very rarely sell actually from their premises or online, and that's been more of a matter to see them through the pandemic. But they are now going to be considering a full premises license if the finances permit that. They're going to be considering if they will continue delivery and sell from the premises post-pandemic. Thankfully, now farmers markets seem to be reopening, so they're going to be given that due consideration.
Thank you. And can you update us on Kinloch Arms and Stag Hotel as well, please? Because they're about 20.
Yes, to Kinloch Arms, they are having a meeting with their premises manager. That is a chain. So I think it's Hawthorne off the top of my head, but they have several premises all across Britain, and they will be meeting with the premises manager to discuss a major variation. And the Stag Hotel have also given them the information to their agent, who happens to be Miss Hood, and she will be discussing it with her clients.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. Councillor Boyd, question?
Councillor Moore did slightly beat me to it with the Kinloch Arms. That is one where I think we've got to keep that plate spinning, Daniel. I don't think that's acceptable. Us having 20 there as well, and you're well aware of the situations there, so no more to be said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Convener?
Yes.
Convener, I would just like to add as well that basically for licensing, we took a pragmatic approach during the COVID-19 as detailed in Daniel's reports. The approach going forward, however, though, is that everyone who has had several occasional licenses issued has been advised to apply for the applicable variation or the premises licence. If they don't complete such an application, future occasional licenses will be brought before the board. So that's well looked at.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you, Ms. Page. Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, members, any comments? No comments. Okay, then, do we agree to note the report?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Agenda item number 8 is the annual fees license review proposal. Again, we have the recommendations in front of us, but before we decide this, Mr. Coleman, is there a further update from when this report was prepared?
Yes, Mr. Convener, there are several premises that have now made payment of their annual fee and will no longer need to be considered for review, and they are the Meadowbank Inn, the Park Bar, the Brown Horse, Woodville Inn, Piper's Lounge and Kitchen, and Seven Sins. Anesia Limited is now a dissolved company, and therefore the premises licence no longer has effect, so will no longer required to go to review hearing. The remaining names on the list: the Corner Bar, the Foundry Bar, World Buffet, the Old Brewhouse, the Royal British Legion in Brecon, Laughlin's Coffee Mill, and the Workhouse are currently outstanding.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Coleman. Councillor King, question?
Yes. Do we send out reminders to these people before they get to this stage?
Yes, Councillor King, we have. I've been working on this quite significantly. They got the original letter way back in September. They received a reminder letter in November 2020, and then in February I commenced pursuing the annual fees, and they have had at least 4 pieces of contact, whether that be by email, phone, or letter, from me since then.
Thank you. I'll be pursuing that in other areas of licensing where they're not sending out reminders and licenses are being cancelled as a result. But that's very useful to know that they do get reminders. Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. Councillor Durno, a question?
Yeah, thanks, convener. The World Buffet seems to have a different name outside the building this week, which is next to the Meadowbank. Have you had any confirmation that there's a new owner or change of licence for that building? Thanks, Daniel.
Yes, Councillor Durno. As it happens, that is the same licence holder as the Meadowbank Inn, and I was liaising with them yesterday. I am expecting them to forthwith surrender their licence, but at this moment they haven't, and therefore the fee is still lawfully due.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Daniel.
Okay, thank you both. Councillor Moore, a question?
Yes, convener. These became due start of October, so even if they surrendered their licence tomorrow, the money is due, is it not?
Yes.
Right, okay, thank you. I'll have a comment in a minute.
Okay. Okay then, comments? Councillor Durno, your hand is up. Was that an old one or?
I can't seem to get it to go down.
That's okay. That's just technology. It's live after all. Okay, Councillor Moore, a question? Sorry, a comment.
Yes, convener. I think that we should move to a hearing on the premises outstanding. I also think that the premises that have recently paid ought to be, advised again that it seems to be the same names each year. I think we've got to start clamping down on that. We need to look at who is repetitively being late, because we're supposed to fund the licensing facility through the income that we receive. And if this income doesn't come in till halfway through the year, it's not fair on our licensing staff who are trying to sort everything out.
Okay, no, I agree, Councillor Moore. Totally agree. Any other comments? Okay, we have the recommendations in front of us, but there's, Councillor Boyd, a comment?
I think Councillor Moore and you backing that, Councillor Fotheringham, is absolutely right. Is there any way that we could look at a penalty for not paying on time? If you think about it with car parking, if you're in a private car park or whatever, rather than one of our own, if you pay quickly, you get this, but if you don't pay on time, you get penalised, because this is costing the council a lot of money to keep on chasing up the usual suspects. I don't know if that's something that can be worked on or not.
You're absolutely right, Councillor Boyd. It is the usual suspect. Page? Or Mrs. Kimmett?
Mrs. Page is speaking but muted.
Oh.
There is no penalty to be applied to anyone who doesn't pay. The proposals are set out in the report. Repeated reminders are sent out to them, but there is no penalty that can be issued in respect of that.
Supplementary question then, could this be looked at for a following year?
I'm not quite...
Legislation not allow us to do this, then, Mrs. Page?
I'm not quite sure what you mean, Councillor Boyd.
Well, yeah, we are where we are this year, but we have all these same suspects.
I don't know if indeed it is the same suspects. I think we need to ask Daniel to check if it's indeed the same ones.
But even if it's not, Is there something that by another year we could be looking at to say, I'm sorry, if you don't pay by a certain time, there's another £50 penalty put on you, because this is what it'll be costing the licensing committee, not only in time, but in cost. We're supposed to try and break even as a committee, and yet we have these people that are, we have the vast majority all paying on time. Can it be looked at paying a penalty for not paying on time? Not saying we can do it this year, but something for the future.
Councillor Boyd, we'll certainly look into that, but I don't think it is, but we'll certainly look into it and get back to you on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Councillor Moore, a comment?
Yes, I'm just wondering whether we can have our staff write to the Scottish Government and highlight this fact that we are regularly having people we're 6 months into the year and we're still chasing funds and we're not allowed to apply a penalty. And if the Scottish Government wants to work with the local authorities, then, give us some powers to apply a penalty. But certainly, can we ask the question of the Scottish Government?
I think that's exactly what Mrs. Page will do. She's going to come back to this.
Correct,
yes, of course.
Correct.
Good.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we've got the three recommendations, members. I am going to move that we hold a review hearing, and there's been a suggested date of Thursday, the 22nd of April at 10 AM. So based on that and the three recommendations in the report, is that agreed?
Agreed.
With regard to item 3, convener, if somebody pays the outstanding fees between now and the 22nd of April, should we be inviting them to come and say why they couldn't pay earlier, rather than just saying, well, okay, you've paid, you can, we'll forget about it?
Oh, I don't know if that's something we can do. Can legal maybe advise?
Yes, we can indeed request the people who have to date, who are on the list, who have not paid to date. If they do pay between now and the next hearing on the Thursday 26th, we will ask them to appear. We will invite them to appear to explain to the board why they hadn't paid the fee to date.
Okay, Councillor Moore?
Yeah, I'll quite happily move that as an amendment. Okay. All of them are called.
Do we need a seconder for that, or are we just going to agree that that's the case? Agreed?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, members, agenda item number 9. We're asked to note the occasional licences granted under delegated approvals. Is that agreed?
Agreed. Agreed.
Number 10, premises licences, minor variations granted under delegated approvals. Are they agreed?
Agreed. Agreed.
11, personal licences under delegated approvals. Are they agreed?
Agreed. Agreed.
And number 12, premises licences surrendered under the Licensing Scotland Act 2005. Are they noted?
Agreed.
And do we agree the timetable of meetings for 2021-22, agenda item number 13?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you very much. The final item I've got here is written down is Daniel's last meeting, and I would just like to say, as convener, and members will have the opportunity as well, just to thank Daniel for the work that he's done as our licensing standards officer over the last 2 years. It has been an absolute pleasure and privilege to work with you. I know you'll still be in the council, and I know that every member will still be in contact with you, because what you're going to is something I think that we all get involved with and pass on. So the best of luck. Thank you for all you've done, Daniel, and I'm sure we'll all be in touch with you in due course. And when is it you actually start your new roles? At Monday?
Yes, it's Monday, Mr. Convener.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Moore?
Yes, I would just like to thank Daniel very much as well, and say I look forward to talking to him about planning enforcement on Monday.
Yes, I've got a few for him as well. Councillor Fairweather?
Yes, thanks, Chair. Yes, Daniel has been what a job he's actually done. We couldn't have asked for better. Any time that I have asked for either information or help, he has been more than forthcoming. I'm certainly sorry to lose him from licensing, but it's certainly going to be planning's gain I'm delighted that he's staying with the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fairweather. Councillor Dunno?
Yeah, I just like to say the same. I mean, Daniel's been great to work with. He's come back to you right away, and he's had so much things to do. I remember when he first started, and there was so much work for him to do, and he had, you know, he got through it great. And I do worry that we're losing our good licensing people quite a lot. So I just hope we get somebody new quickly, and because it's an awkward time to be joining as well, with all the premises closed and everything. So as I say, thanks again, and welcome whoever we're going to be seeing next. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dunno. Councillor Boyd?
Yes, well done, Daniel. You've been absolutely fantastic over the time that you've been in this role. It's certainly our loss, but planning's gain. All the very best.
Thank you, members.
Okay, thank you. And just, yes, I mean, I think we've heard from several applicants today the appreciation for our officers in planning, building standards, ECP, legal, our clerks, and also the help and advice that we get from Police Scotland. So on behalf of the board, thank you all. And I'll ask Mr. Phillips now to